Hi guys, just to let you know, we've got a brand new website, drcharlieward.com, where all our videos will be loaded over the next few weeks, and you'll be able to view all of those there's no charge for watching any of those. We've moved them all onto our own platform because all the doctor ones, which are very, very important, have been taken down, so we've now got control over those, but every single video we post will be free to watch. That's very important for you to know. The other thing is we're getting an awful lot of people asking us about gold and silver, and I've always been an advocate of gold and silver. And myself, I'm not in a position to give financial advice. I'm not qualified to do so. I'm just going to tell you what I've personally done. I've personally bought gold and silver, and I've used a company that I trust, which is shown below here. They've always looked after me well. And if you order from them more than £250 worth, you get a free 1 ounce silver coin, which is very, very nice. It's a nice little gift. But this is not an endorsement. This is just what I have done personally, and it's up to you. It's your choice. As I said, I'm not qualified to give the advice or financial advice, but it's just what I have done personally. And I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you enjoy watching all of my videos. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. I'm loving your show, by the way.
Thank you. Well, I'm feeling a lot more, a lot happier. I've always been relaxed, but I'm a lot happier now. I'm allowed to say a bit more, and every day I'm allowed to say a bit more, I feel a bit happier.
Yeah, you will be. You will be.
Because when you know something but you can't tell somebody, for me it's frustrating.
Yeah, yeah.
Because other people are getting frustrated and stressed, and I was like, I'm trying to take that stress away without telling them what I'm not allowed to tell them.
Yep.
But I was told late last night that I was allowed to now tell people they actually used the quantum system for the voting. So
wow.
They allowed both systems to run in parallel, and all the legitimate ballot papers had a quantum watermark.
Love it. Love it. Stitched them up in a nice little sting, I believe they call it. Yeah, yep. Love that, Charlie. Love it.
I love it. It was beautifully executed. The little rats went to the little rat trap and didn't even look anywhere else for cheese. They went straight for it.
What a beautiful analogy. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. You know Mark Atwood, don't you, as well?
I do.
Yeah. I jumped on a Skype call with him on Monday last.
Yeah.
And he's never been the same since, poor lad.
I hear you flushed him out.
I believe so, yes. Yeah. Yes, that's the whole idea.
Do you know what? I can actually back that up because you didn't help me on this one, but somebody did when I lost my son.
Right.
And I was in a dark place, so I can witness the fact that this works. And I didn't believe in it. I'll be honest with you, David. I didn't believe in it at all when I started out my journey because I had this brainwashing indoctrination from my religious days that was all dark and satanic and everything else, and not to believe a word they said. But when I was in a dark place, my logic was I need some dark help to get into the light. That was my logic.
Correct. That's what I did. Yeah.
So I went to see this gentleman, and when I was a child growing up, I used to have a nightmare. And the nightmare was that I was sat on a balcony looking down on the workers, and the workers weren't working as hard as they should be. And I was having to shout and scream, and they didn't seem to care. And that was my childhood nightmare.
Yeah.
And it turns out that this person, I never shared that nightmare with anybody, not even my father, who knelt down and prayed with me that it would disappear. And the dream disappeared. I never had that nightmare again from the day my father prayed with me that it would go away. It went away. But it was obviously still somewhere in my mind. So when I lost my son, when I visited this dark place, I went to see a gentleman who started talking to me and then suddenly turned around and said, in your former life, you were your great-great-grandfather. And you used to sit up on this balcony, and they literally told me my nightmare that I'd never shared with anybody. And I mean, the detail was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could feel this whole thing coming. I could feel a lightness come into me, and I could feel the darkness leave me.
Right. Wonderful.
And it was a wonderful feeling. So I can vouch that sort of thing does work. And it was a bit of a shock. A bit of a shock. I've had a couple of shocks like that in my life. That was one.
Yeah.
And another one was a pastor. My second wife wanted me to go to this church in South Wales called the King's Church, because she'd found her blood mother, and her blood mother was a born-again Christian. So we went to a number of different churches to check them out, see if they were any good. Wasn't that impressed. But then we went down to this one, the King's Church in Newport, South Wales, in the United Kingdom. And they had this guest speaker, pastor, whatever. And I loved his name, Reinhard Bonnke. Great name. And he had a congregation in South Africa of 100,000 people every Sunday. So I thought, well, if 100,000 people go and see him every Sunday, he must be worth listening to. So I went to see him. And in this congregation, it was far too much for the church. But we went to a sports centre where they had more space, so they could get all the people in that wanted to see him. And he started off his service, and it was much the same as any other service, really, but he was very vibrant and full of life. And then for whatever reason, he pulled this guy up on stage that was in a wheelchair, who'd been in a wheelchair since birth. And he knelt down in front of him, put his hands on his knees, and then prayed, and then got hold of his hands, lifted him out of the wheelchair and walked him across the stage. And I got up and left the building because I was like, that's a bit spooky. That's too much for me, that one. I was like, don't want to, that's mental. I was like, are you for real? And then I processed it in my brain, and I've got a very simple brain. And I thought, do you know what? If you've got a washing machine and it doesn't work, and it's made by Hotpoint, you take it back to Hotpoint. Right. And I believe that God made man. So if he made a mess of one and he's got a connection, maybe he just takes it back to him and says, sort it out. Right. And that's how I dealt with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was that simple.
Yeah. Love that. Lovely story. Love that, Charlie.
So I can connect with you being able, because you quite clearly have a gift and you know what that gift is. And you can help other people, and that's a wonderful gift. So this morning, I'm going to enjoy learning about your gift.
Thank you, Charlie.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Ask away. You guide it. You guide it, Charlie.
Well, I want to know, because you have a way of removing people's pain.
Yeah.
When they know something's wrong, they don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I think it probably comes from being able to trust you and being able to unload on you. And you can only unload on somebody if you trust them.
And also, I'll add to that, you're so right, but I'd add to that one other thing.
Go on.
They actually know that not only do they need my help, but they know I can help them subconsciously. Mm-hmm. When people meet me, they do one of two things. They either run away and it's the same reason that their mind goes, but they're not ready.
Yeah.
And then there's other people who go, I can't believe I've told you that. And then I'll just do my process and they go, do you know, I can't see that memory. You know, I haven't got that bad feeling anymore. I said, that's great, isn't it? How did you do it? I said, I know how your mind works and I know how it deletes. And they go, how did you work it out? I said, you'll have to buy me a book. It's in my book. And I'm teasing them and they just say, it's as simple as this. Whatever you think and see in your subconscious mind, and you're asked by somebody else to see it again, and then repeat the thoughts in that memory. He said this, she said that. keep repeating them, or a thought, a generic thought about that memory.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can stop when you've created the bad feeling. And the look, whether it's a 75-year-old last night, Harriet, she won't mind me saying it. She said, I'm 75. She said, I can't believe you took the risk, not even seeing me on a screen. I said, I know how the mind works. If you say it doesn't work, I know you're a liar. She just roared laughing.
Mm-hmm.
She said, David, I've had that memory for 60 odd years. I'm 74 or 5. I went, oh my God. I know the Heyo career is a chancer, a risk taker, just to see what your view of your story is. And now I've taken the biggest risk of all. And that was last night. My wife said, my God. And I got the text message this morning. I said, has it not all gone? She went, no. I said, I've got a confession to make, Harriet. I've never done a 75-year-old. I said, I didn't think you wanted to change.
Yeah.
And she just roared laughing. She said, you're not only beautiful, why do I trust you? Going back to what you said.
Yeah.
Why do I trust you? I said, there's a part of your brain called the adaptive subconscious. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a great book on it in his Outliers and his Tipping Point. And when you meet someone, you just know. I think he opens the book on Tipping Point with it, where this old dear walks into the Tate Gallery, sees the bust allegedly from such and such BC, and they paid a fortune with these experts from Italy to say, oh yes, that is definitely Jesus or Julius Caesar or whatever. And this woman comes in with a shopping trolley. She goes in there nearly every day looking for the latest exhibit, and she goes, oh God, where's the curator? I've got to tell him. Oh, it leaves me cold. Whatever's the matter? That's a fake. And then they did the due diligence too late, and it cost them a fortune. They had to throw it in the bin.
Mm-hmm.
So in answer to your question, they trust me, but that's only when either they hear about me,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a subconscious thing, and then they recognize obviously that they've got the need, which is why the radar subconsciously has drawn them to one of my ex-clients.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final one is, I know as a shamanic Heyoka empath, I can only work with anybody who the soul wants to be well. Then I can work with their mind, because they're not even aware, as Mark will tell you and anybody else who's worked with me, they're not aware that it's just the story that they're repeating. And that's what I'm deleting, the metacognitive programming, the conditioning that they believe. Or as Aristotle once said, show me the boy at 7 and I'll show you the stupid idiot when he's a man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in a nutshell, really.
It's amazing. I don't know how much we can talk about because of the fact of confidentiality, but you've worked an awful lot with sports teams as well. I don't know how much we can talk about.
You can look on my website.
Yeah,
the testimonials are there.
Yeah.
It's taken a while for me to become visible because of what you're doing now.
Yeah,
I was in the courts as a Heyoka.
Yeah,
as a property investor, they call it a Mackenzie friend.
Yeah.
I thought it was helping people with lease options.
Yeah.
So losing the property, I'd be looking at the mortgage contract. Good Lord. And I'd say to the judge banker, can you have a look at your judicial oath, please, with the Queen's signature on, which means you can't favour your accomplice here. I mean, sorry, you're a liar lawyer. And they'd start shaking. Well, that particular judge would. I'll not mention the name, but if anybody wants it, I'll give the name out. She'll be confessing soon. And I said, could you just provide 2 things? That, the judicial oath, or the other one would be evidence that the bank has lent any money. We waited 4 hours in Skipton County Court on the corner from Otley Street in Rackham. 4 hours later, the clerk of the court says, the judge is ready for you now. I said, oh, okay. So in we went with my client, who I couldn't help with the lease options because the mortgage interest payments, they were ringing her up saying, if you just give us $3,000, we'll call off the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said to her, Izzy, just forget that, and we'll go to court. And because I'd been learning about legal name fraud and all this, and I just put it together. And I met her on the Thursday, and I was in court on Tuesday the 1st, 2013. Anyway, we're in there. I said, look, can you just provide this, this, and this? We waited 4 hours, and then, oh my, we received a banker's draft in the hearing. I said, do you judge? Is this evidence that the bankers lent money? She went, yes, Mr. Rogers. I went, that's brilliant. She had this smirk on her face, just like Biden will have just before he's handcuffed, because he's completely oblivious to it. If it is him, of course, Mr. Clone. Anyway, got a long story short. I know, Charlie, I've been watching. Yeah, I know. I just said that for a little bit of a reverence for those who are not. I've been watching that. And they said, yes, it is. I said, well, we've got to lock you up for 7 years then. Is it? 999. The service you require, is it? And I said it so deliberately, as only a Heyoka can say. Ring the police. We need that lady arrested for confidence fraud, because the bank has not touched this bank transfer 7 years after the mortgage contract was executed on the day of the hearing. I said, this is from Matthew Arnold Baldwin Solicitors. We might have to edit that out. All the way to A. Ross Solicitors in Skipton. I said, this is mortgage fraud, I believe. And you, as representing and pretending to be an injured party here, you were formerly known as, SPML, Southern Pacific Mortgage Limited, formerly known as Capstone, formerly known as Ascendant, formerly known as Lehman Brothers, 2006. That's when you got stopped the first time with your mortgage fraud. The gavel went down, Charlie. Court hearing suspended. I went, where's the court? What do you mean? I said, this is not a court. Halsbury's Laws of England states quite clearly, the magistrate courts and the county courts have no lawful authority, and no act of parliament can be passed to legitimise them. So what the hell is this? She said, you'll receive notification in the post. So I said, from who? She said, the court. I said, what court? Halsbury's Laws. This is a figment of administrative trust practice. This is a con trick. You have no authority to process P's, never mind the repossession order. Sign the order. You're not going to do, because you're not an oath, a judicial, sworn on the judicial oath judge. Sign it. 4 times, 4 separate hearings. We left the court, and 3 days later we received a letter in the post. Reason for court adjourned. Nobody attended the hearing. Wipe the transcript. Ooh, zappity-da. That was the day I went from sheep to bah! And I had such a rage in me, Charlie. Such a rage. Oh. And then I utilised my process. Completely forgot about it, because we do. We take for granted the gifts that we've learned bloody years ago. That's what we do. So, because I was on my path to helping people clear trauma, which is what we're all going to be, when it all comes out, we're still all going to be traumatized with this. JC, Kay, thank God she's found the dumb bases. We'll go there together, and she can see the fruits of her hard work and her gift, so that you can see that it was worthwhile. So that'll be a beautiful moment. That's what I intend to do, Charlie. The football clubs, it's irrelevant. I've never really wanted to be since meeting Barry Bennell at age 12. Thankfully, 4 years earlier, my nana said to me, if you ever meet anybody who gives you a knot in your stomach here and makes you feel bad, walk off. Well, that was the end of my football trial. I didn't get out of the van. And 37 years later, he's set the same face from the 80s, his on Granada reports. And I'm like, oh my God, the knot in my stomach. Oh, and I pieced it together. That was 3 years ago. So that's a truncated version of what the hell I've been doing, and how I help people as well.
Yeah, beautiful.
Ask me another, Charlie.
Isn't it lovely when you can trust your own intuition, though? And you knew as a young man that you could trust your intuition. And the programming around us, the television tries to take that away from us, so that they program us rather than us trusting what's actually.
It helps if you're born backwards, Breach, and you do everything backwards. So as a consequence, you're seeing what you're going into.
Sure.
So as a consequence, when I was 7 and seeing quadratic equations in my third eye and not knowing what they were, but just writing them down, and the head teacher said, well, what the hell is this? And I went, I don't know, it's numbers and letters. And he was saying, this is, what's an, and I had no idea what was going on. The electrodes went on me. What the hell's going on? Didn't understand what was going on. He had me left arm behind me back. There was all kinds of stuff going on. But the inner sense, the backwardness of me, I never saw or felt the pain because I saw it coming, so I avoided it, as my mother would tell you if she was here today.
Yeah.
I just sidestepped it all the time. And it wouldn't get through because I'm backwards. So whatever he was trying to ask me, I would just repeat it backwards to him and wasn't be aware of it. It would drive me family and my friends mad.
So being dyslexic makes you a genius.
Your words, Charlie. Thanks for that. No pressure then. No, it's knowing that I'm okay.
Yeah, of course.
If I don't think about it.
Yeah.
Or listen to anything. Not had the telly since 2012.
Yeah.
2012. And that keeps me sane. But my wife doesn't help. She keeps sending me videos of you and go, oh, for God's sake. Stop sending me this at night. I'm trying to get to sleep. I've got these bloody clients. And the clients are just coming out the woodwork now. It's like, wow. It's
My
like,
videos will send you to sleep.
Sorry?
My videos should send you to sleep.
Well, they do to you at the end.
Exactly.
And that's another trait, Charlie. Well, that's the beautiful thing about you. Because you're working so hard on this. And it's the love that's coming through on your videos. They make me chuckle, make me laugh. But it's because of the truth. As Ken Dodd was once asked, he said, why are you funny? He said, I'm always telling the truth. Unless I'm talking to me accountant. And wow, I feel blessed. I'm in the middle of probably the most war-torn, poverty-stricken, and most number of sheep in Manchester because of the numbers.
Yeah.
And yet, because of who I am, I'm completely safe. They don't even ask me for anything because of, hey, Oka, do you want your cappuccino? Yeah, okay, yeah. And that's what it is. And I just feel so at home.
Yeah.
And so loved and accepted. But then again, if you've stopped your daughter from being suicidal, self-harming, and you've stopped your husband doing this and that, and you've stopped yourself, you stop these people doing it, then you're bound to be loved.
Yeah.
So
what's the origins of Heyoka?
Dakota, South Dakota.
Okay.
The last known is a tribe. And the Heyoka, the little child who's born backwards, sits and lives on the edge of the tribe.
Okay.
And when the tribe is sick, they take, as they're doing now, people who just send the email, but they just go into the TP, and he would just flip the switch, mind, body, dis-ease, think of the trauma, repeat the bad thoughts about it, got the really bad feeling in the psoas muscle, which any physio will tell you is the root of any problem for a player if he's repeating the same injury. Useful that for Carla. Anyway, yeah, because not a lot of physios know that. Anyway, back to the story. That's what they do. They'd sit in the TP, create the bad feeling, and I'd get them to do deep diaphragmatic breaths where you put your hand on your belly and you just breathe in. And if they breathe in and keep the mouth shut, the breath, the Holy Spirit, the mind, body, dis-ease, and the breath flips out, which the prefrontal lobe is holding the memory in, However, if the person is psychologically reversed, which was the case with dear Harriet last night, when I said to her after she'd breathed out, could you just explain to me, and I did it backwards for her, the question, could you just explain to me why you saw that? And she said, and that's my way of tricking her mind into telling me whether she can see it or not without asking her. Because I don't know if you've noticed, Charlie, some people not only don't believe it works, going back to the start of our conversation here, but more importantly, they don't want it to. Because they're quite happy on the benefits. Oh, back to my narcissistic mother of 10 years looking after her, which caused me to go into bookmakers thinking, I want to kill the doctor. You can't do that. You can't do that. He's trying to wipe her out. Oh, no, you've convinced the doctor to wipe all the tablets off. But unfortunately, they've actually seconded another doctor and they put all the tablets back on. I couldn't stop it, Charlie. I didn't know my process. So I'm in bookmakers going, looking round and watching dogs running around the track, and this was distracting me, and I wasn't even aware of it, Charlie. I wasn't even aware of it. I just went in with me pie me pasty to talk to the guy who saved life from his gambling. He sits there and we used to chuckle about it, and next minute I find myself, because of the rage, subconsciously going in there just to fill me days, because if I have to go to the doctors one more time to listen to the lies, it would send me mad.
Yeah.
So I know how to get rid of a gambling addiction.
Yeah.
Useful in football.
Very. Exactly right. Exactly.
Oh, the joy of releasing the pain of the craving and the sneakiness of the gambling app, which thank God I never touched.
Yeah.
But it's over now. It's 4, 5 years, 6. Oh, can't remember. Isn't that lovely? That's how you know. Not in recovery, can't bloody remember and never would do it again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally understand that, because any form of addiction is very, very hard. Oof. And unfortunately, I've never been into gambling, but I certainly was into cocaine, and I was certainly into alcohol and smoking. Yep. And I still have a drink every now and then, and a cigarette every now and then, but it is every now and then in the evenings. This week I haven't bothered having one at all, but cocaine was sort of, I found out with that I had a big hole in my life, and you can't just take one thing out and leave it. You have to put something else in there. That's what I've learned. Albert
Spinoza, Italian philosopher. You can't replace one addiction with a clear addiction. You've got to replace it with another. I'll add an adjunct, unless you know how to clear the memory.
Sure.
If the weed addict can't see himself with his dealer in his right hemisphere, and he can't see, and I would know I've cleared quite a few of my time, and there are the testimonials on the website, well, at least 2, because I've tried to fit every type of issue on there. And once they've can't see themselves as an addict, then the subconscious mind then can't say, I need to go to the dealer, because you've deleted the bad feeling. So they've no longer got the subconscious control.
Yeah.
So if they don't see it and they can't create the bad feeling, the wonderful thing about the prefrontal lobe, once you've learned the life lesson of your mental dis-ease experience, repeating the adding diction to a behavior, I've got to go here, I've got to go there, I've got to have a drink, I've got to have this, I've got to have a bet. Once we become aware of those programs, put them in the memory, disconnect it, gone.
Amazing.
It's as simple as that. I know I make it sound like making a cup of tea, but when you've been doing it that long, like you have now, sat there looking like the Lord of Presenters, as you do, then that's who you are. I was recording my ebook yesterday. I did it in one take.
Wow.
My excuse me, Sean, my sound guy, he said, how the hell do you do that? I said, I got out of my own way. I got out of my brain and just, I was talking to each client in the anecdotal case histories. But then the subconscious came in and came with different voices. So I ran with it and explained what the voices were and why they were saying it about this particular client. So it became 5D.
Yeah.
It was 3D, bam, 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 and then it became 5D.
Yeah.
So I rolled with it, and I can't wait for Mark's response, because he's just received it about 9:30 this morning. We was that late with the weed transfer and one thing and another, and his sound engineer's baby was playing up and da 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 da. But it's live. But I can't believe that I've written my book and done my ebook in this 5 days. But that's when the timing's right. It's right.
To me, there's two words that I look at with you, and that's pure and simple. You keep it simple, you keep it pure. When you keep it pure and you keep it simple, the truth just comes straight out. There's nothing complex about the truth.
I got the judges to set the repossessions aside.
Yeah.
And you know what they have? The temerity, the audacity. It's the training, of course. They're taught to distract, and that's the judges as well, which is when they move on from liar lawyers to that.
Yeah.
This particular lady said, "May I commend you on the finest performance in this courtroom?" I said, "This isn't the courtroom. You're not a judge. So this isn't a compliment." I said, "That is the most insulting thing I've ever heard in my life from a con artist." I said, "And you're trying to massage my ego." I said, "Ta-da." I just walked away. Come on, Izzy, let's go and have a brew. And that was the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I've been doing a lot of research, because the transition, and this is one thing that I love that you'll love as well, because we're moving away from maritime and admiralty law into a world of constitutional and common law. Yeah. And the beautiful thing is that all these scumbags of politicians and judges and what have you no longer have any place in common law and constitutional law. They don't exist.
Isn't it beautiful?
Isn't it beautiful?
Oh.
Karma's a wonderful thing.
Yup. Always put the love heart wherever I send, as Mark will tell you. I always said, it was freaking him out, I'm sure. I always put the love heart, because it just reminds us who we are to each other. And if we stay in that, we're just about going to be okay, despite what the treachery is.
Yeah.
It's playing out in the movie.
Yeah.
And that's, oh God. I feel blessed, Harry. I feel, Charlie, that's me talking to that subconscious. I feel really blessed to have had the life I've had so far, but the biggest blessing is coming with help people clear the trauma to what you are helping people reveal, which, Charlie, I can't thank you enough for doing what you're doing.
Well, I can only do it with the support of people like you, because that keeps me very, very positive. And having good people around you. My wife and I made a conscious decision 6-7 years ago to get rid of anyone that was negative around us, that made us feel less about ourselves than we felt about ourselves. And that was the most constructive thing we've done. We've now surrounded ourselves with people who are like-minded. And because the negative people are such a drain. When you're surrounded by positive people, I've actually been a few times now to functions at people's houses, parties and functions where we're all on the same frequency. And I tell you what, it's so uplifting when you're surrounded by positive people.
Absolutely.
And it makes you realize that some of the old parties that you went to that had these negative people in there, you just didn't want to be a part of that anymore.
No. When you change the view that you've been shown to own, because it served you on a lower vibe, such as chasing money, whatever, which most of us are hardwired to do. Once you have your wake-up call, which was mine, losing my 2 friends in a road traffic accident, and then thinking I was okay 5 years later, and then opening a hypnotherapy practice, and the spirit guide of the woman I'm renting the room off says, "David, do you want to read him?" And I go, "Hey, no, I don't read the papers, just the sport at the back." She went, "He said you wouldn't understand." I said, "Who?" "Your friend Sean, who died in the accident." I dropped the key and started, my limbic system just shaking. She went, Oh, I'm so sorry. You do like your brew in the morning. I'll just go and put the kettle on again. Sat down. And I said, what on earth are you saying? Who are you? She said, he's only been here 3 weeks like you. So I said, who? She went, Sean. So I said, he died. Janet, he died. She said, he's here now. Ask him a question. And I said, okay, if you're here, Sean, tell her, with her little pendulum swinging around. I said, why do we call you Sean? Because your name wasn't Sean. Come on then. She went, his name was John. I said, that's right. Why do we call him Sean then? If his name was John, why do we call him? Okay, well, we know that. She said, because his dad's name was John and they didn't want the mix up because they were both got John. I went, that's right. I said, how many brothers did he have? She went, one. What was his name? She went, Michael. I'm like, at this point, I'm in this void, which when I'm working with a client, I'm not there. Yeah. I know all I have to be is a mirror. That's a hey, okay. Yeah. Yeah. When they go, oh, you can help me. I go, I don't know. How the hell am I going to help you? And they go, and they start laughing at their own reflection, at the lie that they want to convince the the psychologist. I'll come to the semantic meaning of those two words and how they are certified experts because they can't help anybody, but they can, but not in the depth that I do. Forgive me, psycho the rapist. I am one myself. Says so on the certificate, must be true. And the psychologist must be because of the degree. Anyway, once that happens, it all becomes clear. And oh wow, once you realize, like you did, that this isn't all there is, it changes. It's the wake-up call. And then the rest of the message was this. David, yes. I said, I don't know who I'm bloody talking to here, Janet. Is it you or him? I said, this is really freaky. I said, I feel him. She went, you probably do. It was like having the female version of Peter Kay, because she had a West Lancashire accent as well, giving me a reading. And she just said, just ask any questions. So I asked every question. She gave me all the details about his life and And she said, he's got some questions for you. She said, you've got to really focus on this. So I said, why? She said, this is the puzzle, which once you've resolved it, you'll be able to actually help anybody on the planet, and you will be remembered on this planet for thousands of years afterwards, because this is what is the big problem on the planet. That's how Sean, the spirit guide, relayed it to her. And it made no sense at the time. I'm thinking, oh my God, the dead are alive. And I'm going, there's all stuff. I need a cup of tea. I need to stop shaking. There's all this going on, Charlie. And she was giving this information. She said, and now this is even more important. I'm like, oh, for God's sake, please just slow down, Janet. And she said, and I felt my right ear pinched. And she went, he's just pinched your right ear. And I went, yeah, okay. Yeah, I said, he doesn't have to go through the other senses for me to believe it. I said, God knows what he got up to, because he was a bugger of a practical joker when he was in a body, or his spirit was surrounded the body he used to carry around. I said, what is it? And she said, you need to stop feeling suicidal. And I just looked and the tears just dropped out. And I just said, and I can feel it now. And she said, you must stop. And the look on her face as she's giving the message, because she didn't know, because the people coming in, I'm still clearing them, because you know the technique, you know how the mind deletes, so you're just doing it. But you've got this stuff going on because you've not woke up to your mission. to the reason. Yeah. Okay. So she's at this point, she's saying, I'm so sorry, I didn't know that. I said, can you just, and I looked and I said, can you just focus on the questionnaire? I said, I need to get this over with because I feel like I'm a wreck. And she went, oh, I'm so sorry. And then she starts talking, listening to him. And then she says, this question's really important, David. So I said, okay, fire away. She said, do you want to know what lifted you 20 feet out of the accident? Why the police said to you in the 3-hour interview, 3 weeks after the accident, what you were doing 20 feet above the vehicle? And I looked at her and I said, I nearly threw up on that the first time I heard that line. She went, what? So I said, that's what the police said 3 times in a 3-hour interview, 3 different ones. What were you doing? And I said, I've no idea. But in my mind's eye, I saw my Timberland boots, my jeans, and my tan Barber jacket. Thinking, what the hell am I doing up here? And then next minute, I'm on the floor, on my feet, looking at all the traffic. So they'd obviously, something had picked me up. He told me what it is. I don't even want to even talk about what he said it was, because it's not important, and there's enough people, there's enough nutters ringing you and giving you a hard time and saying, get this nutter off, he's saying that this, It's not really important. My intention as a shamanic Heyoka empath in coming on this program is to tell you snippets about my story so that people know that suicide, mental illness is over. The slavery of mental dis-ease between the mind and the body and how it repeats thoughts on a loop, which made me suicidal when I went to the 2 families 5 years in and said, you're all right. And they went, why did you survive? And my son and my husband die. And it kept repeating here, it created such a bad feeling. So if it was, I was okay for 5 years until I went back. So I know what trauma is. And the really, really bad, let's not judge it. The really significant thing is that for 30 years now, the psychiatric research has proven beyond doubt that trauma and child abuse, they call it child maltreatment, witnessed or experienced, is the root cause of all mental illness and criminal behavior and addiction. And yet it's hidden. It's not in any diagnostic or assessment paradigm to refer to people like me. Why? Asked Charlie. Good question, Charlie. Do you know why? I went to university in September last. Not this one, last year. And to get this is how naive and pure, as you say, the Heyoka went in there thinking, I need to get it accredited by these by these experts. I went in for 3 weeks, cleared 3 or 4 traumas. And one of them reported me for clearing his trauma. I said, cuff me, take me away to the gallows, take me away, throw the key away. I'm horrible. Stop making this a joke. I said, I'm not making it a joke. That's the Heyoka. Does the ditty and makes them say it. I'm not making the joke. Are you joking? I've come here to get my process accredited. I'm sat round the table eating my cheese and onion butter. The lad in question sits down, tells me all his trauma. He sees it all, repeats it, gets the bad feeling. He flips it out himself. I've not done anything apart from facilitate it. And now you're saying I have to stop doing it because he's gone behind my back because he doesn't want to lose his $9,000 bursary. It was like the Pathé News. I said, it's okay. I said, I'm leaving. No, we don't want you to do that. I said, I know that. But I don't want to be here because this is another little slap in the face. David, don't be so bloody innocent. Don't be so bloody stupid. They don't want to accredit it because they're part of it. They're keeping that kind of research, my research, hidden. So that's why I'm here, Charlie. The
Brilliant.
football world thought I was a nutter. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I can, because they're so programmed that when the truth comes out, that they find it very hard to understand. So I totally understand that. And you're going to have to help me, because I need some more conspiracy theories, because all mine have come true. I've run out.
Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful.
We're living in an amazing time, aren't we? Absolutely amazing. Yeah. You and I are on so much on the same page.
I've noticed that, Charlie. I've noticed that. Yeah, very much so.
Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful, eh? Yeah. And what we need is, because people are suffering, they need people like us that can help them laugh their way out of trouble. Yeah. Because some people, if they don't laugh their way out of trouble, they'll just cry themselves into death.
I've got a little secret to share. You know why they call laughter the greatest medicine?
Go on.
Guess what it does? If you think of your trauma and laugh about it.
Go on.
It deletes the trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
But finding someone to make you laugh when you thought of the trauma, repeated the thought, got the bad feeling, there's not many of us about, apparently. That's why I've had to show up.
Wow. You just reminded me of something that I did 11 years ago that I'd forgotten all about. And that's you've just nailed it. When I lost my firstborn son, Lee, after his funeral, we had a few drinks together with about 200 people. But what I said was, we put a lot of pictures up, and I wanted everyone to just talk about the funny things that he'd done in his life, the positive things. So we dealt with the trauma with laughter and fun about some of the craziest things he'd done, because he'd done some really crazy things, and it turned into a celebration of his life.
Yes. Which
helped us deal with the emotional trauma of losing a firstborn son.
Yeah. Clever, Charlie. Clever.
Without even knowing it.
Clever. Magical.
Mm-hmm. Well, David, I want to thank you for this morning, and I want to book another session with you, because this is what people need right now.
It is.
And they need somebody to uplift them, and you've done that to me today. You've uplifted me, which is a beautiful feeling, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Charlie, I want to thank you from every cell in my body for you being here and doing what you've done, everything in your life, everything, and accepting everything that you've done as what you had to do in order to get right there for the people now. Magic. Absolutely.
And thank you for everything that you're doing and have done and are currently doing as well. It's incredibly constructive.